Sponsored by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin comfort dealer. Overhead Tour Company of St. Louis. The genuine, the original. Now the Gashouse Gang on KMOX.
Gashouse Gang on this Thursday afternoon. Nate Gatter with you in for Chris Ranji. Bernie Miklas is alongside. And we are going to start with some college basketball today. We'll be continuing to talk, of course, about the Cardinals and the Nolan Arenado deal. We'll also talk about winter warm-up coming up for the Cardinals. But let's start with the St. Louis Billikens, who are in the news for good reasons. They won again, 10 straight since that loss to Stanford. Still just one loss this year, undefeated in the Atlantic 10. They cruised over Fordham last night. And for some not-so-good reasons, though it really has nothing to do with the athletics department, which is that Bradley Azuero is mentioned as one of a few dozen college basketball players in an unsealed indictment tied to game fixing and gambling going on in college basketball over the last several years. And Azuero is tied to it for some game fixing that went on allegedly during the 23-24 season, the one that he spent at St. Louis, specifically a game against Duquesne from the second half of that season when they allegedly fixed the first half spread to ensure Duquesne would cover it. So we'll talk about it from both angles. Obviously, one has nothing to do with the other. Nobody in the basketball program was around for, well, I guess a couple of people were, but very few were around for that season, are still with the program. And there's certainly no allegations with, I don't think any of the players, certainly not with Azuero or anything going on in St. Louis, that it had anything to do with the program or the athletics department or anything like that. So it's really not a St. Louis University story as much as it is a Bradley Azuero story, and it's a sad one. So let's start there, Bernie. I mean, it seems like this is just another big domino to fall in what is likely to be, at least for the short term, an escalating problem throughout major athletics in this country, but in particular at the college level, because of the way these players are, in theory, more susceptible to the kind of bribes that contribute to game fixing.
Yeah, and good to be with you again, Nate. This is number one. This has been going on for a very long time. It's been going on for decades and decades and decades. But at least the potential, the possibility, the temptation of fixing games, point shaving, whatever you want to call it, the opportunities have certainly become more accessible, given the proliferation of access to legalized gambling and things like that. And it's easier for people to, even engage in this through legal means. Not that what they're doing is illegal, but they're using a legal platform to do it. No one's like making wagers in a back alley with some thick neck guy named Shorty,
Yeah.
So that's number one. I'm just like, let's not act like that this just started happening, because we live in a society where people can't remember what happened 15 minutes ago, let alone 50 years ago. So now, number two, it's still a terrible problem, and it's a growing problem, but I give a lot of credit to the feds, because the more that they dig in and the more corruption that they unearth that leads to federal indictments, the more and more and more that happens, it also sends the message over and over and over again. We're watching this. You were watching this, so don't think you're going to get away with it. We are on this, and I think that should be a deterrent. And if somebody, a college basketball player, football player, whomever, if that isn't a deterrent, then I would say they're pretty much a hopeless case, right?
Yeah, it's a good point that you make, and I'm a little bit surprised. At least I'm not familiar intimately with the entire indictment, but I'm a little bit surprised, even just within the Azuero section of the indictment, that these guys thought they could get away with what they were doing as it was, right? I mean, they're putting a lot of stuff in writing in text messages. They probably think they're being cryptic, but really not. And beyond that, even if they were being perfect about keeping everything out of writing and using burner phones and all the like, they were betting, according to the indictment, somewhere in the neighborhood of $250,000 on the first half spread between St. Louis and Duquesne. In what world do you think that's not getting flagged? Do you think DraftKings is in the habit of fielding $250,000 worth of bets on the halftime line of St. Louis and Duquesne? Like, that is just so bold. It'd be one thing if they were doing it for, $10,000. The problem is then if you're betting at $10,000 and $20,000, how much profit are you making to be able to cut these kids in, right? Because they're supposedly paying bribes of $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in some of these cases. You can't do that unless you're betting really big money.
Yeah, and and the thing of it is, what I hope that any of these athletes that are tempted to do this, what they understand, they should get smarter just in terms of understanding the risk involved, which is obviously a lot greater than they think. But when that wager that you described to me, which I didn't know about because I'm still catching up on the story, I've had a really crazy morning. $250,000 bet on the first half of a Atlantic 10 game. I mean, if that's not the proverbial red flag, I don't know what is. I mean, the feds are, and by the way, the gambling industry itself does a really good job of detecting these things and informing the authorities. And so the red flags are everywhere, and the feds can't get to them all like right away, but they're going to investigate and research and nail it down cold. And then they're going to hand out indictments. So that's just the world we live in, I guess.
Another thing to keep in mind, whether it's gambling or anything else, if you're the type of person who's committing federal crimes on a regular basis, keep in mind that the fact that you haven't been arrested doesn't mean you're not already caught. The feds catch you, and then they let you keep doing it, in many cases for several years, while they just monitor everything that you do and build the case. And by the time you're arrested, your good is done. So in this case, these guys are all still presumed innocent until proven guilty, and an indictment is just allegations. It is very, very rare in these kind of cases that the feds are completely off base, certainly when they're naming people and getting indictments and unsealing them the way they have. But again, that is a Bradley Azuero thing. It could potentially affect. There is another St. Louis player who is unnamed but whose identity is known to the grand jury, who is mentioned anonymously in the indictment. So potentially we could see another former Billikens player implicated. But again, we're not talking about anything that really affects the program per se, and not anything that affects any current player.
Yeah, the unnamed guy, who knows? He may be cooperating.
Right. We have no idea who that guy is, what the circumstances are.
And the thing that if I have a minute, or less than a minute, the thing about this too, the other very unfortunate thing about this, it makes us all suspicious as sports fans. I mean, we all tend to be a little suspicious anyway, especially if we make any kind of legal wager. And if it's not going our way, we want to look for a reason why we made the wrong choice, right? And can I give you an example? Even someone like me who's really level-headed about all this stuff, I texted my brother the other day when he was trying to figure out a wager on one of the NFL games, a legal wager. And I pointed out that you can actually go to a site and you can see what a referee's, a crew chief's record is when he officiates games played by a certain team.
Yep.
And I'm not naming any names, but the record made me laugh. I said, listen, look at this. Look at this guy's record. Like how often the home team wins when his crew is in town doing a game. And, my brother got all excited. I said, no. It doesn't mean anything. This guy, I'm not accusing this guy of anything, but we all jump on that kind of thing. And then it makes us wonder, what's up? What's up with this? Why does the home team win so often? So we all become conspiracy theorists, and we suspect everybody, especially if we have some money put down on that game and we're looking for someone else to blame, right?
Yeah, I think that's a very, very true statement, and it's a reason that all of these professional sports leagues and the NCAA, for that matter, take these kinds of things as seriously as they do. Sometimes folks complain, and sometimes with very good reason, that it seems like gambling or allegations or even appearances of impropriety by players or coaches or officials or what have you are taken more seriously in some cases than very serious crimes, even, domestic violence kind of crimes or other violent crime. And I think some of those concerns, some of those arguments are well-founded. But the reason that they take these issues so seriously is the point that you're making, which is that they undermine the integrity of the sport. And if a league loses the faith of the fans, loses the faith of the consumer that the product is authentic, that the product is genuine, there's really nothing left for competitive sport. Without integrity, the league really can't continue to exist. Gashouse Gang is sponsored by Saliga Heating and Cooling, SaligaHeatingandCooling.com, and Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. We'll be talking some Cardinals, some more Billikens, because they've been playing great. So we should spend a little time talking about Billikens who aren't committing federal crimes and instead are just dominating the Atlantic 10, just in the interest of fairness. We'll do that and Cardinals talk coming up as the hour continues on KMOX.
Hey guys, Kevin Wheeler here for FanDuel Sportsbook, which, by the way, is the official sportsbook of KMOX. Well, they are turning on playoff mode, so all customers get a profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. So each game day during the divisional round, you'll find a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts waiting for you right there in the app. And more boosts means more ways to level up your playoff bets. So pick the matchups you believe in, take your shot on an upset if you want, or hey, if you want to roll with the 2 number 1 seeds, if you want to roll with Denver and Seattle, you're free to do that as well. You can build a parlay that fits the moment, whatever you like. Then you take those choices and you apply your profit boosts and go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs keep rolling. So visit FanDuel.com/Missouri to grab your profit boost pack every NFL game day. And remember, must be 21 or older and present in Missouri to play. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens, and restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
I'm Piera Palazzolo, VP of Digital Marketing for the American Management Association, a company focused on the management training skills needed to enhance the careers of business professionals. We did our research when it came to the best companies for website development and chose AmericanEagle.com. And we couldn't be happier. AmericanEagle.com worked closely with us to understand the front and back end requirements needed to launch an e-commerce website that could handle the complexities of running thousands of seminars nationwide. Our robust new website and improved SEO saw immediate increases in site traffic and web revenue. If you're in need of managerial effectiveness and success, visit our website at amanet.org. If you're in need of a website that provides an unparalleled consumer experience, I highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Transform your business today. Dial 877-WebNow1 for a free digital consultation with AmericanEagle.com.
If every time you have people over, you're embarrassed about your bathroom, it is the perfect time to plan ahead for a spring installation of a new bathroom. At Michael's Bass, they specialize in beautiful, safe bathroom remodels, from tub to shower conversions to full renovations, including the paint and electrical work. Family owned and locally owned, michaelsbass.com. You can plan now for a spring install and ask about financing options, including 0% interest upon approval. michaelsbass.com.
Glover here for my friends at Cantor Injury Law. Cantor is local, and we're here doing the work every day. We're right here in St. Louis, and we're ready to fight for you. CantorInjuryLaw.com or call 314-628-9999.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be solely based on advertisements.
Hey, it is Proud St. Louis and Andy Cohen here wishing the voice of St. Louis, KMOX Radio, a happy 100th birthday.
Gashouse Gang continues on KMOX. Nate Gatter, Bernie Miklas back with you. Talked about the Billikens a little bit in our first segment, and I promise we will do some basketball Billikens rather than off-the-court Billikens here later on as the hour continues. But I do want to get to the Cardinals, Bernie. Obviously, the topic of the week is Nolan Arenado's finally departing for Arizona, and the trade being finalized so the Cardinals can kind of move forward. Winter warm-up is coming up this weekend. We're going to visit with Michael Hall, who is the executive director of Cardinals Care, to talk about the lineup of folks who will be on KMOX as well as on the main stage at Cardinals Winter Warm-Up on Saturday. So we will have all your information about that coming up here in just about 10, 12 minutes at the bottom of the hour. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about the Cardinals on the field, and in particular this Cardinals infield now, because obviously at-bats have opened up with the departure of Nolan Arenado. How do you see this infield shaking out now as it stands? Let's assume for the moment that Brendan Donovan is still a Cardinal. That might not be the case, but let's work with the guys who are on the roster now. How do you see it shaking out?
Well, I have it when the news came out and we covered it virtually live on the Gashouse Gang on Tuesday. I was able to get some information, on very good authority, and so I think that I have it scoped out pretty well. Now, listen, things can always change, but based on the information I got from people who would know, if Donovan stays, he will be the second baseman. JJ Weatherholt will be plugged in at third base. What that means for Nolan Gorman, first of all, it would be, limited opportunities, but there could be some run for him to play some third and play some second DH. I mean, it's not like his career's done here, but it certainly would impact his ability to make a sort of 2026, turn that into a step forward rather than a step back order or something neutral. So if Donovan's here, he's the second baseman. Weatherholt's the third baseman. Gorman's a little bit in limbo. The same applies to Sama Sajasi, although he could be the utility guy. All right, if Donovan is traded, it opens it up with Weatherholt at second base, where they would like to put him anyway. Third base would be the left-handed hitting Gorman starting against right-handed pitching, and the right-handed hitting Sajasi starting against lefty pitching. So they would try to work out a platoon. And there's nothing wrong with that. The third scenario, which is the least likely, would be trading Lars Nootbaar, keeping Donovan. Donovan goes to left. Then you have Weatherholt at second and Gorman, Sajasi at third. So those are the three scenarios. But Nate, if I could just throw this in real quick and then I'll shut up. If Donovan is traded and the Cardinals decide to give Nolan Gorman a full run at third base, I'm good with that. Because that's what a rebuild season is for. I mean, if you're ever going to give Nolan Gorman, let's just say, a last chance season, what better to do that when you are rebuilding and you're going with a very, very young team? Because he's got the kind of power potential that if you trade him, you may regret it. Because we've seen that in Major League Baseball before, where, a kind of a frustrating power hitting guy, he strikes out too much, he swings and misses too often. You trade him and then, he found it at the new place. Chris Davis did that. Now, Chris Davis, people will remember him as like, well, isn't that the guy whose career faded out because he struck out? Yeah. But before he did that, after the Texas Rangers traded him to Baltimore, his first 6 seasons for Baltimore, he averaged 37 home runs, and he slugged over 500, and he was an all-star. He won a Silver Slugger. He got MVP votes in 2 seasons. A recent example is on the West Coast with Joe Adell, who was a former number 1 pick of the Angels. He hit 18 home runs in total in his first 4 seasons. Then in 2024, he hit 18. No, he hit 20 in 2024. And then last season, he hit 37. Now, baseball pundits, Angels fans, oh, this guy's a bust. This guy's a bust. Boy, is he a bust. And he was striking out at a higher rate than Nolan Gorman, but he found it. And so these last 2 years, the numbers are good, and he cut his strikeout rate down by about 8-9%. So I'm saying it's not like it's impossible for an enigmatic power hitter to suddenly find it one day. Now, this can't go on forever, to say the least. But again, it's a rebuild season. So that gives you the luxury or the freedom to give this guy one more shot. And, so we'll see what happens. But, there's no reason not to give him a shot if Donovan is traded.
Yeah, to that point, I mean, you just think about it from an asset standpoint, right? Considering where the Cardinals are right now, what is the likelihood the Cardinals could get significantly more at this time next year for Brendan Donovan than they could get now? Probably pretty low. Maybe they could get a little more, maybe it'd be a little less. Probably it's in the ballpark of the same value that he would have now. If anything, you might say it's likely to slip just because their control is going to lapse unless they extend him in some way. Right. So probably his value is higher now than it's going to be in the foreseeable future unless he had a monster year. Whereas with Nolan Gorman, what's the likelihood that his value is higher a year from now than it is now, especially if he gets an entire year as at least your primary third baseman against right-handed pitching? It's not 90%. But certainly it's a higher percentage than Brendan Donovan, not because I think Nolan Gorman will have a better season, but because Nolan Gorman's comparative value is low right now in relative to Brendan Donovan's, and because he could increase it more because we think his potential is at least somewhat higher than what he's played, maybe a lot higher than what he's played, whereas Brendan Donovan is playing much closer to his potential, which is a credit to him. That's why he's been excellent, and Nolan Gorman has not. None of this is saying Nolan Gorman's a better player or a more valuable trade piece or any of that. It just in terms of the relative value, Donovan now versus Donovan in January 2027, Gorman now versus Gorman in January 2027. Seems like that alone is a good case for trying to make the Donovan move now and open up that space. The other thing I would say outside of the Gorman conversation is just from a recent Cardinals history standpoint, hearing you say, like, oh, yeah, they'll be able to get J.J. Weatherhold on the Major League roster, but they're going to put him in a position that he hasn't really played. That makes me cringe immediately. Now, I understand second base is probably not the ideal long-term home for him necessarily either, that he's got some defensive versatility. Obviously he's got a lot of shortstop in his background. But to me, it sounds much better if you're going to bring up a much ballyhooed prospect who's going to have a huge spotlight on him because of the nature of this season, that his progress is going to be highlighted in a major way, or his lack of progress is going to be highlighted in a major way. I feel much more comfortable with him at second base than him at third base as your everyday guy.
Well, that's why the Cardinals were smart last year. They played him at all three infield positions except for first base. They gave him experience at third base. He played shortstop in college. He's played some third base, but to your point, yeah, it's not his primary position. But you know what? Second base wasn't either.
Yeah.
After they drafted him, the Cardinals said, listen, we think we have a shortstop and we think you can do a good job at second base. So they've already moved him once, and he has shown that he's very adept about making that transformation. Not that he would be at his best defensively at third base. I'm not trying to say that. But, he has the flexibility at least to give you an opportunity to kind of move him around if you want to do that. I think he's going to be here for his bat anyway. So the other question the Cardinals have to look at before they're making a decision on Gorman, before giving him a full opportunity in 2026, where's the power in the organization? Where's the power? The last two seasons, the two guys that had the most home runs over the two seasons didn't even average 20 home runs. I'm talking about Burleson and Contreras. And Gorman was right behind them, even though he struck out a ton and he didn't play as much as they did. So if you were an organization and you're looking at your grid and you're looking at your minor leagues and you're looking about, well, this guy, they do have a power hitter on the way, Joshua Baez. But this is not an organization that is loaded with power. In fact, it's the exact opposite. 29th in home runs the last two seasons. It's just, it's a glaring hole and a glaring weakness. So that's another reason to just maybe take that extra step to give Gorman, for lack of a better term, one more audition season. And in his age group, by the way, in his 4 years in the majors, in his age group, guys between 22 and 25, he hit the fourth most home runs in that age group. And that's, again, he was striking out all the time. So that power is there. They got to find a way for him to make better contact, better swing positions, and instead of chasing pitches and being jumpy at the plate and walking back to the dugout with his head down. But the power is there. We've all seen it. He just can't summon it enough because his plate discipline. Well, he draws walks, but his swing and miss and his swing decisions are so bad.
Bernie Miklasz is sponsored by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin dealer. Bernie, this has to be like a 10-second answer. I'm putting you on the spot. Given everything that we have talked about and the need to open up those at-bats, what do you think is the percentage chance Brendan Donovan is traded between now and opening day?
I would say, between 75-80%. Some people, I think, would say a lot higher. I think there's more of a chance. I would never say like 90%. I wouldn't go that far because the fact is the Cardinals like Donovan a lot. It's not like they're like, well, we don't like this, we don't like that. So yeah, I think I'd put it at 80%. What about you?
I think that's right, especially with what we've talked about. I think there's a lot of external value for the Cardinals outside of moving Donovan, it creates all this space that allows them to do the other things. And I think that's probably what pushes them over the edge. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking about Cardinals winter warm-up coming up this weekend, what to expect with the executive director of Cardinals Care, Michael Hall. That's after this on KMOX.
Hey guys, Dave Glover here from the Dave Glover Show. So, what is my show? My show is 4 different people living 4 different lives, all coming together every day between 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. to talk about life, actual life. Not so much headlines or did you see what Trump did today or XYZ. Never predictable because I never know what I'm going to talk about from one segment to the next. So it truly is unique and unpredictable. Join us.
104.1 FM, KMOX.
Thank you, Missouri, for making St. Charles Nissan your most trusted and #1 Nissan dealer. We're kicking off 2026 with amazing savings only at St. Charles Nissan. Get $10,000 off MSRP on 2025 Muranos, Pathfinders, and Armadas. Or enjoy 0% APR for 60 months on 2026 Rogues and 2025 Pathfinders and Muranos. These offers won't last. Drive home your new Nissan while selection is at its best. Visit us in store or get started now at stcharlesnissan.com. Based on sales volume for 2025 and approved credit, $1,667 per month for $1,000 borrowed. See dealer for details. Offers expire 2/2/2026.
Now, KMOX weather from the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk.
It's 28 degrees in downtown St. Louis, and the sun is out, a bright blue sky. The low tonight expected to be 30 degrees, and tomorrow in the evening, a possibility of a dusting of snow. That's your forecast. 28 degrees downtown St. Louis.
Hey, this is Charlie Brennan. Have you noticed loose bricks or missing mortar around your house? On the walls, the patios, the walkways, the porch, or the chimneys? If so, you need to call Morelli Tuck Pointing. 314-645-1387. You might need one of 2 things: solid tuck pointing, the removal of old mortar with the replacement of new mortar throughout an entire wall or chimney, or maybe just spot tuck pointing. Spot tuck pointing involves the tuck pointing of a particular wall, a chimney, or other masonry surface in an area where it's needed the most. One example might be settlement cracks, usually found above or below windows or doorways. 314-645-1387. Call the company that the Brennans have called when we've needed tuck pointing. Morelli Tuck Pointing, the masonry specialists. Winner of the Angie's List Super Service Award every year since 2005. 314-645-1387, MorelliTuckPointing.com.
If you or someone you know suffered any injuries involving a deployed airbag, you could be entitled to compensation. Morgan & Morgan has already recovered millions. Get America's largest injury law firm fighting for you.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Get ready for men's Billikens basketball Saturday afternoon as they face Richmond. Pregame 2:45, tip at 3 on your home for Billikens basketball. KMOX.
Nate Gatter, Bernie Miklasz back with you on the Gashouse Gang on KMOX. Thanks so much for being with us. We are joined now by Michael Hall, the executive director of Cardinals Care, to talk about winter warm-up coming up on Saturday. Obviously, Michael, this is the kind of week with Nolan Arenado being traded to Arizona, where I think some folks say, "Oh man, like, well, I'm not feeling the opening day juice right now." We just traded away an 8-time All-Star, but there are still going to be a lot of guys out there who are going to be excited to see the fans and to talk about all the optimism there is around this ball club for the future coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, we're looking forward to this weekend as we do every year. We really look at this event as the kickoff to the season for us. We have a lot of our guys that are coming in from the current roster, quite a few alumni that are coming in to be a part of the weekend. So we're excited and hope the fans are too.
Michael, Bernie Miklasz, really great to talk with you again. I wanted to get your sense of what vibes you're picking up on in terms of the fan base and winter warm-up. Looking forward to seeing some of the young Cardinals, like the next generation, who are going to be a big part of this team for the next several years at least. First of all, how many of those guys are going to be there? But are you picking up on a good vibe in terms of people have turned the page? Not that anybody's happy with a rebuild, but if it's a rebuild hey, let's see who the next guys are. Are you picking up on that vibe?
I am. There's optimism out there because of the young guys that come in. Each year we not only bring in guys from the current roster, we bring in some of the prospects, if you will, some of the younger guys that are maybe going to be coming up, or guys that will be going on the caravan, because the caravan's this weekend as well. And usually each year, as with this year as well, the younger guys, their autograph tickets typically sell out or are very close to it. And so it's very similar this year as far as ticket sales go, and as far as autograph ticket sales go. It's pretty similar to what we've done, what we did last year and what we did the year before, as far as just raw numbers are concerned. So I think fans are excited to see and meet some of the younger players that are part of the team and be a part of the weekend. The people that come every year, they're pretty familiar with how the event goes, but hopefully we've got some new people that are going to be able to participate this weekend, and they'll get to see the flow of the event as well.
Michael Hall, Executive Director of Cardinals Care, with us talking about winter warm-up starting this Saturday over the weekend for the Cardinals. And Michael, that's an interesting comment that you made. Can you share with us? Obviously you could only go so detailed, but can you share with us who some of those names have been who are really driving the tickets and the autograph tickets?
Sure. So of course JJ Weatherholt's super popular, and he's one that has been difficult to get a hold of. Really a lot of all of our younger guys that we plan to, that are going to be a part, that are coming up, that are in the mix, have sold really well. The schedule is on our website. If you go to cardinals.com/WWU, you can see who is available and who is participating on what days and what times. What we did this year was new to the event since its inception, was cut the event down to 2 days. We felt like we were able to have the same content without losing content and doing it within 2 days. And Monday, over the past few years, we've been listening to some of the feedback from the fans that Monday may not be the best day to extend the event. So we did cut it down to 2 days. And so the schedule is pretty jam-packed with the autographs and the guys that are participating. So between prospects, if you will, current roster, and alumni on Saturday and Sunday, they'll be signing from 9 to 5 both days, all day long.
Michael, get us up to date on, Cardinals Care, because it's been an institution in St. Louis for quite a long time now. But what kind of stuff are you continuing to do? Like, what are you all most proud of in terms of your impact in the community? And if we're trying to measure the impact, I'm sure you have some information on that. Like, through the years in operation, how much has Cardinals Care basically invested into, community projects to help everybody that lives in our city or around our city?
Yeah, really good question. So I'll give you some examples of some of the things we've done more recently. And in fact, some of those projects will be on display this weekend. A couple of things that we've done, we have a couple of mobile units, if you will. We partnered with iThrive as a partner of ours. For those who don't know, iThrive, they provide glasses and vision screenings and checkups for kids who don't have the ability to get them or don't have the means to get them. And then they provide glasses for them right there on the spot. And so we partnered with them and we created a new mobile vision unit. They already had one, but we created a new one so that they can pull up to literally schools or events. Kids go through the actual mobile vision unit itself. They get on, they go through the screenings. They have eye doctors on there, and they actually leave with a pair of glasses. They'll make the glasses right there on site. So that'll be down here at the event this weekend, parked on the streets for fans to be able to see and potentially walk through. We also partner with the library, and we have a bookmobile that's themed around Fredbird. And so within the bookmobile, kids can come on. They get a chance to pick a book out for themselves. We have a special area that's baseball/Cardinal themed, and from time to time we'll have books on there that our players have identified that they have enjoyed or do enjoy. And so that's kind of neat. That'll be down here as well for fans to see, just to visually see some of the things that we've been able to do and put back into the community. A project that we're really proud of in partnership with McDonald's is the new Ronald McDonald House. Cardinals Care has created an area, a family room, if you will, with televisions and tables and couches, and just a place for families to go and relax and hopefully watch the game during the summer. And we partner with them to do that in their main area of their new building. And so those are some of the bigger projects that we've done, the newer, bigger projects. Mostly we support our baseball, softball program, which is called Redbird Rookies, and we support RBI, which is for kids that are a little bit older. Redbird Rookies is for kids that are ages 5 to 13, and then RBI is 14 to 18. We've given out several grants over the past few years. We give grants to other nonprofits that support kids, and our grants are in the area from $1,000 to $5,000, just depending. We have typically, quote, smaller grants, but we give out anywhere from 120 to 130 grants each year between our 2 grant cycles.
Well, Michael, that is fantastic. We really appreciate hearing about the work that you're doing in the community, on top of the obviously significant effort that goes into winter warm-up and everything that's part of it. Really excited for this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, winter warm-up. And, of course, you can follow that here on KMOX. A lot of those names who will be appearing with the media and on the main stage will also be spending time with us on KMOX over the course of the winter warm-up period. And you'll be hearing all that coverage as we count down to opening day. Michael Hall, Executive Director of Cardinals Care, has been with us. Michael, we appreciate it so much, and best of luck this weekend.
Nate, Bernie, thank you guys so much. We appreciate all your support.
Michael Hall, Executive Director of Cardinals Care, with us talking winter warm-up this weekend. Speaking of winter and need to warm up, or summer and need to cool down, I guess they got it covered either way. Bernie, what can you tell me about Saliga Heating and Cooling?
I'm happy to tell you everything, but I'll try to keep it at a minute. We're big fans of the Saliga Heating and Cooling business. That's a family that has continuously owned that business since 1927. My friend Dan Saliga is the owner-operator now, 4th generation. And I sometimes I joke, but I'm actually serious. When you're trying to figure out if you don't know who you should call for your heating and cooling needs, and if you have an emergency, and I hope you don't, let me just put it to you this way. Do you think you think a business that's been serving St. Louis families for the last 100 years and continues to attract more and more families, do you think that they've got the credibility that would perhaps motivate you to call them? When you hear testimonials like from people like me and that are familiar with Saliga, because our family's been calling them for 18 years, and just the honesty, the integrity, the professionalism, the knowledge of what they're doing, and the way they work with you if you have a problem. They're never trying to hush you, fast talk you into something, twist your arm. They very methodically and very clearly and plainly explain your options and what it will cost. And they will look to find the least expensive option to do the job instead of trying to convince you to go for a more expensive option, even if you don't need it. It's hard to find that kind of trust, and Saliga Heating and Cooling has been doing that for 100 years. And I can tell you, vouch for our family and our experience, we nothing but the highest grades. They're a pleasure to deal with. So if you want to find out more about what they do, including their Priority Club their Priority Club, which is a maintenance program which will save you money, just go to SaligaHeatingandCooling.com. You'll get the phone number there and all the services. SaligaHeatingandCooling.com. Thank you.
They're back and bringing all the hits.
This is Rascal Flatts.
Rascal Flatts, live at Enterprise Center, January 17th. Sing along to all of their best songs. One night, one stage. All the songs you love. Tickets still available at Ticketmaster.com. For more information, KMOX.com/events.
This is Megan Lynch. 250 doctors go to Ophthalmology Associates. That's why I trust them. Ophthalmology Associates, 314-966-5000 or youridoc.com.
This is the story of the one. As the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, she knows the only thing more important than having the right safety gear is having it there when you need it. That's why she partners with Grainger for auto reordering. so her team members can count on her to have cut-resistant gloves on hand, and each shift can run safely and efficiently. Call 1-800-GRANGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
How many of you think taxes will go up in the future? And if they do, who will get hit the hardest? Maybe it's you, headed for retirement. You've been saving in that 401k or IRA for years, and that money has never been taxed. And Uncle Sam is looking at that account like it's a big, juicy steak. What can you do about it? Join the All Financial Group for their Taxes in Retirement Seminar, Thursday, January 22nd or Tuesday the 27th. They believe a financial plan is not a retirement plan without a tax plan. Reserve your spot today by calling 636-230-8824. That's 636-230-8824. Or go to yourmoneymattersstl.com. Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. Neither the firm nor its agents nor representatives may offer tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with their qualified professional for guidance before making any purchasing decisions.
Now back to the Gashouse Gang, sponsored by Saliga Heating and Cooling, Overhead Door Company of St. Louis, on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Nate Gatter and Bernie Miklasz back to wrap up on the Gashouse Gang with you until the top of this hour. Appreciate you being with us. Bernie Miklasz is sponsored by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin dealer. Bernie, let's get back to those Billikens briefly because I promised we would after that opening segment when we talked about the unsealed indictment that includes Bradley Azuero's name among many other college basketball players, because that should not be the primary Billikens story of the day. The Billikens continue to play excellent basketball, not only efficient but highly entertaining. They beat Fordham by 22 points last night. At times looked like they were scrimmaging against their JV team. They're now 16-1. They've won 10 games in a row. Their only loss came on a buzzer beater against Stanford that damn near hit the ceiling of the building. This could easily be an undefeated team. As it is, if they beat Richmond on Saturday, which is a pretty big game. Richmond is 13-5. Certainly the Billikens solid favorites in the game. But if they could win that game, they'll have a very good chance to be ranked. They're the top team outside the rankings right now. And this is all heading toward a Dayton game at the end of this month at Chaffetz Arena that should be awfully raucous. There's a long way between now and then. But this Billikens team is playing at a level that we have not seen in years and years from them, and frankly, that we have not seen maybe ever offensively.
I'm just blown away by their, let's just say, their statistical mix, because the things you look for when you're evaluating a team, do they shoot well? The answer was St. Louis U is absolutely. In fact, they're the number 2 team in the nation in effective field goal percentage. All right, do they defend well? Yeah, because they're also number 2, believe it or not, defensively in terms of limiting opponents and their effective field goal percentage. The Billikens are good at shooting the threes. They're good at defending the threes. They get a lot of points inside. There's also kind of a plus-minus thing where the things that you can control for the most part, how well do you do? I think SLU maybe turns it over a little more than Coach Schertz would like, but they do a really good job of offensive rebounding to get the second chance points. They do a really good job of preventing the other team from getting offensive rebounds. And SLU hits their free throws. They've got a really good free throw percentage. So all the things you're looking at, they're deep. I mean, they've got 9 players in their rotation that are playing at least 16% of the minutes. They're one of the deepest teams in the country. They're one of the most experienced teams in the country. They don't freak out. They have great poise. They're very coachable. There's a great basketball culture there. So you look at teams that are like, what do you want in a team? What would be your ideal team if you can't have like a couple of really big superstar type players. SLU's profile, if I didn't tell you who that team was and I had you look at their profile at Ken Pomeroy, right? You would say, well, I don't know who that team is, but that's it right there, that team. And so my only concern about them, it has nothing to do with them other than the fact that they're going to be on the razor's edge in terms of an NCAA tournament, unless, of course, they win the A10 tournament. But it's true of all the A10 teams. The strength of schedule overall can be used against them. So if the SLU would be a bubble team, let's say, and that strength of schedule could be something that works against them if for people who are looking to kind of downgrade them. So they can't afford to mess up is what it comes down to. But what a delightful team to watch. And they just play such good all-around basketball. And they're so well coached. They're so smart.
Yeah, to your point, no matter what, there's going to be pressure on them at the Atlantic 10 tournament just because of the nature of where the league is right now, which is such a shame because it wasn't that long ago that the A10 was a really, really good league and was getting a lot of teams in. Obviously, the Big East rebirth and restocking kind of hurt the A10. Then didn't kind of hurt. It significantly hurt the A10 in the top half of the league. But I do think if the Billikens could keep themselves, and this is a lofty goal, but if they could keep themselves to 3 or 4 regular season losses, they do buy themselves a little bit of wiggle room. Maybe not against a quarterfinal loss in the Atlantic 10 tournament, but against at least a championship game loss or something like that. Make it as difficult as possible to keep them out of the tournament. To your point, I mean, the box score from last night is beautiful. 19 assists on 28 made field goals, only 6 turnovers. The Bills made 12 three-pointers. They shot 40% from 3. 7 of the 10 players who appeared in the game made a three-pointer, and 2 of those guys, Hudson and Kerr, came on for just the last couple of minutes. So really, it was 8 guys because Trey Green didn't play with a relatively minor knee injury. So the normal 9-man rotation was down to 8, and 7 out of those 8 players made a three-pointer. Paul Otieno was the only one who didn't, and he didn't attempt a 3. He's really the only guy who doesn't shoot it from the outside. Speaking of Otieno, by the way, he had a play very late on in the game where he passed up what could have been, in Josh Schertz's opinion, a dunk and kicked it out for a 3 instead from Ish Sharma. And Josh Schertz was very clear in the postgame on KMOX with Bob Ramsey and Earl Austin Jr. that the fans should blame Paul Otieno and not him for why they didn't get to 80 points and get the free Shake Shack burgers that come along with that. Because there was a lot of consternation in the arena when the Billikens were dribbling out the clock with the shot clock off, sitting on 78 points and not going for 80. But certainly a lot of optimism around that program. Get out to Chaffetz Arena Saturday against Richmond. It's an afternoon tip-off. Beautiful one to take the family. And then a couple of games last week of January, George Washington on the 27th, and then that always big Dayton game on the 30th. Before we wrap up here, Bernie, we got about 5 minutes left, and we should talk a little bit of football because obviously it's a big football weekend. Let's do NFL first. 2 games on Saturday, Buffalo at Denver and San Francisco at Seattle. And then on Sunday, Houston at New England and the Rams at the Bears to finish things out in the divisional round. Let me put it this way. Do you have any road teams that you particularly like? Any seeding underdogs that you like this weekend?
That's a tough one because I perhaps foolishly thought Jacksonville would beat Buffalo last week.
Well, not far away.
Yeah, and I think the quarterback position was huge. Head coach in Jacksonville, just why he didn't run the ball more than he did. I mean, I think that flipped that whole game. But anyway, let's start with that one. I think Buffalo has got a chance to beat the Broncos, but the Broncos are very, very good. And they've had a week off because they got their number 1 seed in the AFC. Their defense is outstanding. And when the numbers tell me, for example, when Sean Payton as a head coach has had a bye, he is so great at preparing, having that extra preparation time. He has an exceptional winning percentage in those situations. And I think that'll work against Buffalo, who goes in there really beat up. That's not the case for Denver. And Denver will be able to run the ball against a terrible run defense. And the other thing, you look at is Bo Nix is not considered to be like a great quarterback, but you know me, man, I go deep into the numbers, and Bo Nix is one of the best 3rd and 4th down passers in the NFL. The stats would blow you away. And so he makes a lot of plays. He's become a playmaker. And I think, he won't be mentioned in any, in the top 6 or 7 quarterbacks of the NFL, but the way he's playing now and his playmaking ability, throwing it, running it, hitting big throws on third down. He's really doing a great job. So I obviously would like. I think I like Denver's chances at home. I like the Bears at home to beat the Rams.
Interesting. That's the one that I was kind of looking at. So I'm interested to hear you talk about that one.
Well, if you look at Matthew Stafford's career, there's conflicting information, but I did my due diligence on that. Matthew Stafford, as much as I admire this guy, has never been a cold weather quarterback outdoors. I mean, he's had some good games, but he just hasn't been. And you also have Caleb Williams, who they're never out of a game. He's playing with supreme confidence. And this is a guy that 7 comeback wins in the final 2 minutes this year. That's never happened in the history of the NFL. 7 times one quarterback's done that. And then I'll give you another thing too. All right, if you expect a close game as I do, this is a really interesting stat. Visiting kickers, this is from Mike Sando at The Athletic, visiting kickers since 2016, when they go into Soldier Field, field goal attempts 40 yards or longer, they have a terrible success rate, like well below the league average. They just can't deal with the winds and the cold weather and whatnot. So can the man from Mizzou, the thicker kicker, Harrison Mevis, can he, if it comes down to a field goal from, say, 48, can he hit it? Because there is a Soldier Field factor, and I think that's really interesting. So, but what are your thoughts on that one?
Well, I mean, that's a great point that you bring up about the kicking, because, I mean, certainly we saw that play out last weekend with the Packers and Brandon McManus missing the 2 field goals and the extra point that ultimately put Green Bay in a position where they had to score a touchdown on that final possession. Otherwise, had a field goal been enough to tie the game, let alone win it, they would be in a very different situation there coming down to the close. I will say this as well about the Bears, regardless of what happens against the Rams or not. Obviously, there's so much momentum behind the Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams pairing. And then I say this last part because I think it's critical for the Bears, and I'm saying it as a Packers fan. Whatever the juju was for the Packers over the Bears the last decade plus, whatever the feeling of inevitability was, it's gone. They just erased it in the last month. A 10-point deficit to the Packers in a critical game in December with 5 minutes to go. They overcome it. They win in overtime. Trailing by 18 points in the playoffs, and they come back and erase that and win. I mean, there is absolutely no one in Chicago is afraid of the Green Bay Packers anymore. Nobody.
They never feel they're out of a game. I don't like San Francisco at Seattle unless Sam Darnold blows up and gives the 49ers the game. I think New England will handle Houston at home, too. So I basically like all the home teams.
Hey, that's often a good way to go in January football. Bernie, I appreciate you.
Always great working with you, man. Take care until next time. Hey, but real quick, give it to me. Who wins Monday night? Give it to me.
Oh, Indiana. Indiana wins, and they win by 2 possessions.
All right.
You can't deny the Hoosiers anymore. You can't do it. I finally.
Hey, when I was running my mouth about how I thought Texas Tech could beat Oregon, you set me. No, you politely set me. You set me straight on live radio on that. And the thing, I know we got to go. The thing I love it. It made me laugh because you basically said, their quarterback's kind of short. And I was watching the game, and he comes walking out, and I'm like, is Eddie Goodell a quarterback now? It's like, anyway, you were so right about that.
I appreciate it, man. Bernie Miklas with us this Thursday on Gashouse Gang. Producer Matt Pajeski. Stay with us. Dave Glover's show is coming up after this on the voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
St. Louis Auto Show returns January 22nd through